What's up, YouTube? You checking out the Frequent Flyer, and this is my quick review of the Cheerson CX-95S. And as you can see, this thing is a jumbo tiny whoop. Pretty nice design. This thing is very similar to the King Kong Tiny 7. The way it looks, the size and all, the specs and everything are very close. This has 7 by 20 millimeter motors, and the King Kong Tiny 7 has the same, but the King Kong Tiny 7's motors, I think they're a little more powerful than these motors here on the Cheerson CX-95S. I think they're a higher kV because these motors seem like they take longer to spool up for the quad to do punch outs or whatnot. I've noticed that when I'm too low and I need to punch out to climb over an object, it took longer for this to do it than the Tiny 7. Often I would actually crash with this thing instead of punching out over it as I would do with the Tiny 7, because I was used to the Tiny 7's characteristics early on. I was used to punching out over things, and so I was expecting to be able to do the same with this, and it just wasn't happening. Now, I think the reason was partially because of the props, because I swapped out the props and it got a little better. It almost disappeared, but I still noticed that this doesn't punch out as strong as the Tiny 7 does. So which one is better? You guys might be thinking that I would like this one less than the Tiny 7, but I actually like this one more than the Tiny 7, simply because of the fact that this one has the option to add a buzzer. And I think that these 7mm motors make this a great outdoor flyer, as well as the King Kong Tiny 7. But I really think that a buzzer is very, very necessary for an outdoor flyer. I did install a buzzer on this one, and the Tiny 7, there's no buzzer pads on it. Other than that, the Tiny 7 does fly a little better than this because of the motors, but you can always upgrade the motors. They're plug and play, as you can see there. The Tiny 7's camera is a better camera as well, as this one is a 600 TLV camera, whereas the Tiny 7 has a 800 TLV camera, and it's noticeable. You can really tell the quality is better than the quality on this one. But still, I think that buzzer outweighs everything else though. You can still FPV just as good as you can FPV with the Tiny 7. The Tiny 7 just looks a little better. It's just eye candy, I think. And the props, well, I think the props are on the Tiny 7 are better, but it's mainly the motors. So if you upgrade these motors, you probably wouldn't really be able to tell the difference in the punch. This probably will have a great punch out. But I know a lot of you guys are looking for something that you don't have to upgrade. So if you didn't plan on upgrading your whoop or anything like that, then I would strongly advise that you get the Tiny 7 over this one, because the Tiny 7 does fly better and does have a lot of great characteristics that trumps this one. But that buzzer pad is very important to me, so I think I would rather have this board I would rather have this one as an outdoor flyer. And to each his own. I think a lot of people might choose the Tiny 7 over this because of the flight characteristics. And the flight characteristics are just mainly the motors. It's just the motors. So also, this comes with a 400 milliamp hour battery. This 400 milliamp hour battery is surprisingly powerful for this. It lasts about 5 minutes, close to 5 minutes. Every time I fly this, I get close to 5 minutes of flight time. And that's really saying a lot, powering a FPV camera, all in one system, and these powerful 7mm motors and all for 5 minutes. That's pretty awesome. And I just imagine that with two-bladed props, it would be even better if we could find some two-bladed props that would fit in there nicely. That would be awesome. But for the most part, this thing is a really nice flyer. Awesome little whoop. It does have a button here to change the FPV channels and all. And I think it's 40 channels. If I'm not mistaken, it is 40 channels. Let me look at the manual real quick. It does have a little chart there that tells you about the channels, how to switch the channels and all. Yes, there appears to be 40 channels. Yep. And so this thing is a really awesome little flyer. It doesn't come with anything, just two sets of props. You get some white props and some red props. These are the white props and these are the red props. So they're the same props that comes with the Cheerson CX-31. And these props must be, I don't know, they must be a little heavier than the King Kong Tiny 7's props, because I did notice a difference when, well, maybe these props have more pitch. The King Kong props might have more pitch or something, or grab air better, but there is a noticeable difference in the speed of the punch out and how fast it reacts with the King Kong Tiny 7 props on it. So that's my quick review of the Cheerson CX-95S. Thanks for watching.